Our parents don't know love, you know. So we have to find it. So let's just say we incarnated for that's our job, you know. That's our job, you know. And then we find, we have blood brothers and sisters, but we have spiritual brothers and sisters,
Yeah,
you know.
I've definitely found that out.
Yeah. And the more
Like
we
the
put
last
out,
10 years, like don't take me wrong, I get on well with like all my family. I'm like you, brother. I'm not an argumentative or forceful person. I just want to, I try to do my best to get on with everyone. But like you say, there's certain people that you connect with, like spiritually. Like you say, you have your blood family, and then you also have your spiritual family. It's just like some people you connect with on a vibe, and then other people's you just happen to be born into the same family. So
and it's so beautiful being, there's not many, but being around people who are really doing the work and are accountable.
yeah.
We'll have to say I have not found many, but that's why I'm venturing out a bit more. And what does that mean? Just like because we can
Ultimately, I think that means you can only rely on yourself.
ultimately, but we can come up with many things. What about this people? What about that people? It's just doing the work on yourself, and you really have to go to venture deeper. I love it when I meet someone. I can go really deep with the traumas that I've experienced, and they can really
Yeah,
share their experience. And there's not a wobble. We're on that level of yeah, wow, like we're our true spirits meeting and talking about to a degree whether we chose it or not. I'm not. It's a beautiful theory. Whether we did or not, it doesn't matter where I am at now, how certain things may be affecting me. It's like affecting your peace, putting you out of ease. So you work with them things, and then you get back to a more stability. But people can be so far gone that, you know, someone sort of said, was it the 2,000-yard look? And there was another thing someone said anyway. Just glazed eyes because it's what we're talking about here is just too much, too deep. And then we come out with these cliches to judge again and mock. I've been there, and in my ignorance. But again, I bring it back to look around. It's not normal for your members to be having cancer, be having thyroid issues, be having, in certain countries, diabetes and having legs taken off, arms taken off. It's guys, that is not normal. I always knew this is weird. This is what do you mean? And we just they died of cancer. What do you mean they just died of cancer? We just accept these things, And I even saw how going back 40 odd years ago, how that was slowly integrated into the media, and it's everywhere. So again, we can talk about us being used in terms of what we are the creators. We are part of co-creating, manifesting all this, so we can shift it, and by not acquiescing to a lot of the nonsense and finding protocols, finding tools to get back to a true more essence of ourselves, to be, use the word righteous in a positive way, to be a good example for other people, for the children and whoever, So, you know, so I'm talking to my past self. If I'm criticizing, if I'm mocking, if I'm judging, you know, you know, it's not normal for your brothers and sisters and relatives to be passing away early. It's not normal. Trust me, it's not normal. It doesn't have to be that way. We don't have to be, let's just say, held chained to like pharmaceutical, to the hospitals.
yeah,
We educate, like Yamchi was saying, become your own doctor. We become our own doctor. So for me, we did touch on the food. The food, it was massive for me. 18 years raw vegan, haven't cooked any food in that time. Tried a few mouthfuls here and there to just
yeah.
imitate certain flavors and textures. And what I realized, there's a chemical release that happens with cooked food, and I think the more cooked you do, the more your body treats it as, an alien, more carcinogenic. So, we just add more fruits in. Yeah, take it slowly. Add more fruits, good fruits, salads. And then you slowly wake up. And then that feeling, it's like, wow, you're going faster. Can I drive this car? Whoa, we freak out. So we sedate again. So we recognize things are going to come up. Recognize in your immediate relationship, issues may come up. So when I was taking people from these ice bath and sauna trips, I had to share eventually, like, guys, your day is going to change. What do you mean? It's because they're shifting. It's another level of cleansing. So if we don't have that, we just debunk P, because it's it's the ice bath or whatever, the food is all bringing up stuff, or debunk you because I tried what he said, vegan, and it didn't work, or this all happened. But you blame the healing, because you're going through a detox.
Yeah, exactly. That's another thing that we do, like, generally, is like, for example, that you getting hungry or you not feeling good is actually God telling you, oh, look, it's working because you haven't been eating. Do you get what I mean?
Who are you? It's the old you want to get rid of.
What's that? Say that again, brother.
And then, who are you? It's the old you're trying to get rid of.
Exactly,
I mean?
Exactly. That's all it's like. That's like what goes back to what we say. Ultimately, you're just like at war with yourself, like not literally, like symbolically, but
we are internally. Imagine a car, you're putting along, but our vehicles, with what we put in our body, what it is having to deal with, our foot is full throttle on the car, generally 24/7. Even when you sleep, we might eat late or we had a big meal. So it's still working. So your foot's like that.
Yeah.
So you're never having a rest. So there is a war going on.
Yeah.
Constant stimulation inner. Never mind about the outer. So if we resolve the inner, working on ourselves, then there's no way we would partake in any of this nonsense and even feed in it. What's going on over there? What's going on there? What is that feeding? The actual dopamine hit, the loss of self by looking out all the time, and the addiction by
that
not
is
being
so true, brother. Because that's one thing I've. Obviously, I'm not going to lie. I'm not saying I don't go on Facebook and Instagram, because I do.
I do, because of what we do.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't get involved in arguments. I've literally got to that stage. I actually have got to the stage with Facebook where I actually don't like it anymore, because it's just full of so much negativity and people arguing, oh, I'm right, no, oh, you're right, and I'm this and that. And
I think, especially on a few we've posted recently, I think there's a whole heaps of debates, I'm going to say, going on, which comes like, I've thrown in a few things, but again, people, we can argue till the cows come home, really.
Exactly.
And we can always find something to support our corner, but just to take it from, you don't have to take it from someone. I met younger generation, sustain something for a long time. I've sustained this for 18 years, and I meet people who've done it for so many years, gone back, it doesn't work. And it's like, look, guys, that's why I'm coming out. I've done this for 18 years. I know people done it for 24 years. I know people done it for 30 years, 40 years. So, but all the time we sit back, you're getting people running around, running their mouth, saying they tried it for 3-4 months and they've gone back to meat, whatever, to justify, them really not having the awareness to really go deeper in themselves. So I look at you guys to go into your traumas, especially in the spiritual world, spiritual bypassing. We come up with all these different excuses, and then then we have the good people doing more good work, even just by not eating and partaking in the death and the dairy. That's people doing beautiful work. And then we can say, we all used to do that. When we fell, fallen angel, when we fell, and then even if we did, why? So it doesn't mean he's going to still do it. We may have ate literally our own crap many years ago. You might find some, which in India there's certain sects that do that. Does that mean we're going to do that? But so the thing is, so if you want to believe we may have done it, well, evolve, you know why, you don't chop up your dog, chop up your cat, and or shove your hand right down its backside to inseminate it, and all this nonsense, and take away the
weird stuff, isn't
babies.
it?
It's like, and I'm putting it out there a bit, but that. So the thing is, so yeah, we can argue. I bring back my energy. If I catch myself getting caught up, I learned that from many years ago. What? Oh, Pete, come on, you know better than that. What's going on in me? Like you say, you can feel that angry and frustrated. What's going on in you when you see that? When I see that, I mean, it is horrific. How do we deal with that? So many people have, like Gary and many people, they're on the front line. So massive respect to many people. Ed, another guy, amazing guy, because they're seeing it all firsthand. How'd you deal with that? How'd you deal with that? It's all very well. And personally, I've seen bits and heard bits.
Same, like
I was screaming for not knowing for days.
I can't really watch it for that long because, again, I get so angry. I just choose, like, you see, like all them Cowspiracy and all those documentaries. I've never actually sat down and watched any of them because I don't know. It's just I don't see it. Really. I know it's like I don't.
There's a fine line with that. I mean, got to watch subconsciously. It's like subconscious picks up things, all the time. Whatever we watch, whatever environment we're in, it's assimilating that subconsciously.
I remember once, brother, I saw a video of it was in China of some guy. He put a dog. I don't even.
Anyway, don't go into detail, but
yeah, I'm not going to say actually.
Horrific things going on. And,
I remember. All I'm going to say about it is I literally felt like I wanted to jump in the screen and like. And again, this is so bad me saying this, but I'm just being honest with how I felt at the time. It's like I wanted to like strangle the person that was doing it, but like now, obviously, I would still get really upset. But it's just,
well, you know what? We got to be careful. I think we sort of say, we've changed and shifted and stuff. I mean, yeah, if you're going to look at that stuff, have processes, have tools, have, even if it's therapy to release that stuff. You don't want to get too caught up in that and go, go deeper in yourself, so you get your roots strong so you can stand there and witness that and see the bigger picture and still do your part. But also, we got to be careful and not be complacent, because if that was happening right in front of you right now, what would you do?
Yeah.
I would potentially throttle the person. I would probably boot him around that room.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Real. Let's keep it real. What, it's your child in front of you.
Yeah.
Being fluffy, and it's just like, there is a healthy protection.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, you see, like, we've like been talking about anger and trying not to get angry and whatever. It's all good, but I think there's right times. There's times do you get what I mean? To act upon it in the right time and in the right. Do you get what I mean? Like,
for me, if we're more in the moment, if we can get more in the moment, we act in the moment rather than say, I would do this, I would do that. I have an idea of potentially what I would do. I remember a conversation about 8 years ago. It's just like, well, I've got to the stage where I would like to think I would do that. Even though I'm saying I would do this and do this now, I would be in that moment, but it's when you're connected, it's more instinctual that you're going to protect your close and loved ones.
Yeah.
So, we don't have to be, whoa, Pete said this, or whoa. It's just like, well, then wake up, clear your system in life, so this is going on globally. And I don't think it's wise to keep watching it.
Yeah. You know what? I didn't even like purposely go to watch it. Someone posted it and it came up on my feed.
I've seen them as well. So we have to have a good way of filtering and processing them. things. So, you know, and Simply Rawgeous, which was about food, but it's holistic about me,
Yeah,
you know. And then some people won't go down that avenue. So the thing is, it's an aspect of me, you know, the food and the astrology, the jinshin,
yeah,
you know, animal lover. You know, didn't start that way. I'm not saying I was never
same.
an animal lover, but it didn't start coming from that. Even though I'd introduced from great vegetarian friends back in when I was 30, a Darren and a Dom, beautiful guys, who got me onto the more vegetarian. So, but the real animal awareness, you know, I didn't even know about the horrificness in dairy until
Yeah,
about 6 years ago. It's like, you know, I kept, no way, it's not as bad as meat. No, 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 you know, and it's like, oh my gosh. So I don't want to bang on about that, but, you know, people, come on, you know, if you choose to really want to, I'm going to say evolve, but, you know, please don't talk about love if you're going to, if you're partaking in that,
yeah,
you know, love and light, just drop it. It's just a massive, you know, contradiction, you know. So and that's fine, you know, you can judge me for this, for saying that, but it just doesn't make sense. We've got things so 180, you know,
totally.
it's ridiculous. And the thing is, so you don't become very popular, you know. And even in vegan, vegetarian, raw vegan, if you're going a bit more deeper, you still don't become very popular because
Yeah,
there's cliquiness in it all. It can be
yeah.
all very cliquey because it's like, well, I'm not just a raw vegan, you know. I chose that, and it's
Yeah,
good.
ultimately, all these things are labels anyway. You know, get
They
what I
are.
mean? But
Or
you
some people don't want to associate themselves with vegan and plant-based. Well, I'm going to still say what it is, you know, but I'm not that. I'm much more than that. I'm not that label, you know. So because I don't stick to that label, I'm me. But I'm going to
exactly.
play with certain labels because that's the
It's just easier for people to understand. That's all it is. Really.
or, you know, it's just like, well, living food, you know, it's
Exactly.
enzyme rich food, you know, enzyme life, you know, it's not in dead. And even the cooked, more you cook, there's enzymes, less enzymes, less nutrients, you know. And, you know, we talk about amino acids and proteins. There's so much myth going on,
Yeah.
you know, all the amino acids is all in the plants, you know, and the nuts and seeds.
Yeah.
So, and then someone can say, well, it's like, well, I'm not really interested, you know. I'm good. I'm happy where I am. And
Exactly.
it,
You're living proof of it anyway, so that no one
you
can
know,
really say anything.
some people say it works for some, not for others. Well, we're all very under the skin. We're all very same biology.
I mean,
The
ultimately, I would say, and this even includes myself, people who say it don't work or it don't think ultimately it's, and again, I don't want to say this like sounding judgy, but it's just it don't work for your ego. That's really what it comes down to as well. Like when people say it doesn't work, it's
yeah,
really a lot to do with dropping your ego. A lot of
yeah.
this stuff I've noticed as well.
And not going deeper, and not facing
Yeah,
yourself, not really facing yourself. You know, you basically you're in your addiction. The food we have is I'm going to say great. It served us to now. So don't give
yeah,
yourself a hard time about it, but shift it. Now you're old enough, big enough to look at the pain and the trauma that it helped you to get through,
yeah,
potentially, like smoking, whatever it is. You
yeah,
know, we're addicted to the food. You know what sugar does to the brain. You know, it's just like we just we so puts us in an unregulated state. You know, state of dis-ease.
yeah,
So we start eliminating that, and you come back to an ease, and you just it's unbelievable how you can blossom. You know, it doesn't mean you still aren't challenged with certain aspects of
yeah,
old age, but they get less and less and less and less and less. But then what we can do workshop after workshop. I have a friend, he could probably bought 2 houses by now, the amount of money he spent on workshops, you know. And then it's just like, you know, there's a great saying is, you know, I think I forgot who said it, but he was walking down the corridor and basically all the answers, all what you've been searching for all your life is there. The keys in the door. And as you're walking down this corridor, You remember all the workshops you've done, all the attachments to it. So you take off your slippers and you creep back because you don't want it, because you're addicted to the journey, chasing when it's under our noses at the very beginning. If that made any sense. But basically, that didn't work. So I'm doing this. I'm doing this matrix extra,
Yeah.
etc., etc. I'm doing this holographic thing. I'm doing this rebirth. I'm 30 regressions, 100 ayahuascas. Endless. Anyway, and I got to where I've got to through breath work, you know, not taking other substances. Experimented a little bit, never worked for me. I was introduced through breath work, dream work, daily diary, and energy work. So that was my introduction. So all the others is kind of weird. So all I need to do is a bit of breath work. But you get to a point, you know, I could say it's all about breath, but then an interesting one is, you know, let's just say Buddhas, you get to a state of maybe, is it 1 breath per minute? So is it all about the breath? Of course it's about breath. However, that can be overstated. You know, there's Falun Gong. I was doing Qigong at the time, which is all about breath. And then I did a bit of Falun Gong. Wow, they're not addressing breath. Wow. And then just that last bit of movement might be a centimeter. Boom. Wow, what did I feel there? I felt the same thing that the breath did. It just poof. Wow. And what I find in Jinshin Jitsu, you know, is a release of energy. So of course I'm going to reiterate, we all need to breathe. So I could go on and on and on, and I realize I've got to disappear. Astrology, though, I mean, that's a whole nother one.
One thing before you go, I always like to do this little thing is, before you tell me, like I always like to ask people what their sun sign is and what they love or dislike about their sun sign. And, you know, it's just a little fun thing, you know. But brother, let's play a quick little game. I'd like you to try and guess my sun sign, and I'll guess yours.
You know what? Before I learned astrology, I was amazing at that. This is 16, 17. I was dipping in and out because my older sister used to look at that. And I got it down to a T somehow. But then I learned astrology, and it's just like, oh my gosh, am I picking up on your rising? Am I picking up on your moon?
Yeah, that's what I mean. You could be picking up.
So
what would you go with?
What would I go with? Oh, well,
I think I told you my moon sign earlier.
Yeah. See this? Okay. So I would have.
Just whatever. It doesn't matter, man. It's
no. I would have thought. I'm just going to say an air sign, even though Scorpio is coming to mind, but I would have say an air sign.
No, Scorpio. You're right.
Scorpio.
Yeah.
Because that was coming to my mind. But the reason why I said air sign is because of what you're doing here.
Yeah.
So Scorpio, awesome.
Yeah, I'm a Scorpio sun.
So that's an interesting thing. See, if I listen to just what I'm getting shown, Scorpio, but I went thinking, okay, but he's doing this here. So okay, Scorpio sun, moon, Taurus.
Yeah, and Leo rising.
Oh, awesome. So was you born on a full moon then? Was it?
Yeah, it was just literal. Well, like my sun's 26 degrees and the moon's 18. So just pretty much.
That picks it up, couldn't you? Really, a wide one. But then, so our daughter is just born on Beltane.
Right.
Our new daughter, and same Scorpio sun. Have I got that right now? No, on the full moon. Scorpio moon.
Taurus sun, yeah.
Taurus sun. Say same.
Can I guess? I guessed. From what I got from you, I got either like Pisces or Taurus, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
Okay, but an Aquarium.
Aquarius.
Aquarian of all things, huh?
Yeah.
You know what though? When I met Aquarians, it's just like, oh my gosh. What I was witnessing so contrary in terms of how certain Aquarians were. But my moon is Leo.
Okay, that's where your creative side comes from, probably.
Yeah. And Virgo rising.
Wow, yeah.
and then, we go into planets. I've got, Pluto, Uranus in my 12th. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Pluto, wide conjunction of my ascendant. So it's conjunct my ascendant, and then it goes on and on. But
Yeah. I've got a lot of Sagittarius. I'm not, my big three ain't Sagittarius, but I've got a big conjunction in Sagittarius.
okay.
I've got Jupiter, Mercury, Uranus, Neptune, and South Node all in my 5th house.
Wow.
And my son's in my 5th house as well.
Wow. So South Node. See, I'm big with the South Nodes, Chiron, and
Yeah.
I in this program with
So did you say you was a Virgo rising?
yeah.
Interesting.
18 degrees,
Yeah.
It's so amazing when you start seeing, when I started learning it at 17, and it's just like, oh my gosh, that evening I'm ringing my mum up. When was Inkborn? When was Macron? She's giving me the dates. I believe they were the right times, dates and times. And then I'm looking at them. It's like, wow, it's all so self-explanatory, And of course we can manipulate, but it depends how you've been taught it. If you've really been immersed in it, and your teacher ain't letting you get away with nothing, then she's making you look at yourself first.
Yeah.
Every little projection. This is the beautiful thing about this Chris Alexandra, amazing, beautiful woman. Was any little projection you're putting out, it's just like, you couldn't. You'll just get shown. So you really got to see yourself as you're learning astrology. So that was a beautiful thing. So it wasn't just learning the theory. So you really got to see how life played out for different people in your life. And then, over them next 30 years, I would dip in and out. I wouldn't look at it much. I just, something would happen with the
I
bubble.
go through stages where like what happens with me, I go through a stage and I'll think, oh, let me just check it because I'm feeling a particular way.
Yeah.
And then I think, oh, okay, the moon. Like I notice, like, because I'm a Leo rising, I notice whenever the moon's in Leo or in Cancer in my 12th house, I feel a bit intense and a bit not moody, so per se, but a bit like. I noticed that whenever the moon's in Leo, like it affects me.
Well, if it's be going over your natal moon, wouldn't it? Yeah. So it's going to have an influence.
Also, this Scorpio full moon we just had, oh my god, man, it was intense, man. It was just.
I bet for you, yeah, with that access is going on as well,
But again, like it goes back to like. Even like with the food thing we was talking about, it's the same thing with astrology. Because they say like a wise man rules his stars, but a fool is ruled by his stars.
Yeah.
So again, it's you can look at it a similar ways and understanding what's going on, and you controlling it and not letting it control you.
Let's just say, like, if you wanted to get to London or you're going to a new place, you got an A to Z or a sat nav these days. So you may look. And you may keep looking until you get it right. And then the tools. And then you just know.
Exactly.
I know that part. The same may come up. Oh, shit, they put a one-way in that they never used to do. Or they've added a new road. It's like, wow, okay, you have to look again. It's like, and then, so the tools. And that's the thing. We're wise not to, again, externalize, project out too much and it be a crutch, because we're giving our power away again, And all the time we do that, we're setting ourselves up. I won't say failure, but setting ourselves up for spirit to kind of come on, to come back in, back, draw the energy back in, come back home, breathe yourself back home, whatever it may be, come back home, So it really feels beautiful that, if you was to say where you're living now, well, I'm living here, and then I happen to be living here and in Brazil. So little words are good to reiterate.
Just before we go, brother, just quickly, like, how's that been for you, and how long you been there for?
Well, we've been here, I think, about 3 months. We were in Morocco 3 months before that. Like I said, certain situations I didn't say on this one brought us here. Certain situations back home escalated, and it's just like there's no way I'm going to be bringing myself and my partner back to that whilst even though I could have been somewhere else in a different environment. But it's so important. I could spend another hour sharing how important what I've got to realize it is in terms of talking about the field, the book, The Living Field, or The Living Field, Children as Mirrors, that is in the making. So important keeping that field regulated, so because that's the imprinting. That's what you and me are friggin' trying to work out now. So if people really got to know that when you was born, if I was your dad, to keep that relaxed, keep the mum in the best space she can, then and you're not saying you're not a genius, but you would grow up with able to support naturally, more humble, more nice. Not saying you are not a nice person as well.
Yeah,
We'll be having to address all these issues now. So that's how so important. That's the new earth, But people get caught up in the cosmetic. Well, what about that? What is it's like? Well, you keep running them stories, We really need to tune back in and really focus on the most fundamental, And it's not being sensitive and all that. It's just being, you wake up and you just realize, wow, you do what you would have wanted when you was a child.
Exactly.
As I've gone along, my eldest boy is nearly 40 now. I'm 38. So as I've gone along, I look back and I put my hand in my head. Yeah, I just did my best each time. So how beautiful to revisit that now and give the best of me, or just be the best of me, to whoever I touch, and whatever I bring up for them is their story, ultimately. My thing is to stay on the path, stay connected, stay at a certain vibration. It's not higher or lower. It's just a birthright vibration, more pure, more closer to source, so I can meet my daughters, and meet them the best I can. Yeah, of course, I'm not always there, but it always gets better, like you're saying, we can always do better, And so I mean, I could go on a lot about that. So how Brazil's amazing. Morocco was amazing because of seasonal foods. It was just a total another level. We auspiciously ended up in Brazil. A good friend, got a part payment flights we managed to do, scraping our way to get here. But a good friend had a place there, and he's let us stay there. And then another friend, look, all these friends I've supported in the past. So it's nice people stepping up and sharing back on a level. So Brazil at the moment, epic. In terms of prices, in terms of fruits, Morocco in season fruits, it was another level. Brazil seasonal fruits is another level. I remember once after my 120-day fast, and I was in St. Lucia supporting a little say part of a workshop there. Came back and I'm like, I was on a first podcast. I'm like, you can't heal in England, like, well, I had to swallow my words a bit. You can, but it's really difficult. Or anywhere, really difficult. If you haven't got the sun and the real ripe in-seasonal foods, you stay at a place.
That's so interesting, brother, because me and my brother, like a little while back, like we was looking at like the map of the world, and we were saying that, like, obviously, you got like the Tropic of Cancer, the Equator, and the Tropic of Capricorn, and like I was saying, it must be a lot easier living inside the tropics to do and like it must be much easier than obviously in the UK. We're way out of the tropics, so in the winter time, we crave that bit of warmth, and
fully.
Such an interesting point you brought up.
Yeah. Oh, it's I watch people. So I'll say it here. I'm sure I've said it before. Surviving, thriving, they say, and in a tropical climate. And yeah, of course you can. You would. And now I hear some people saying, "Well, I've still managed in colder climates." And like me, yeah, we would dehydrate a bit, and we would go for more comfort foods. We good to own it. I mean, I did a fast, my couple of fasts in winter, so I could have sustained that, but why? Where I was at that time. So on a level, I remember I was in St. Lucia, and a friend's dad, I said, "Wow, you're a legend." And he was a legend. What he did in St. Lucia, and he moved to Canada, and what he did was amazing. And then he looks at me, he said, "No, but you're a legend." I'm like, "Why am I a legend?" He says, doing what you do here is easy. Doing that in England, whoa, he couldn't get his head around. How did you sustain that in England? 17, I think 16 years at the time. So it's like, oh, I get it. So, on a level, it's not ego. It's just like giving you so much respect. I just give myself so much gratitude. I don't care if anyone does or not, and so much respect. I'm just aware of the level of what we have done and what we have achieved, what we've come from to where we are now, and sustaining that. It's all very well like a relationship, getting the man you want, getting the woman you want. Okay, now how do you sustain that without maybe dominating each other or trying to mold them in? How do you sustain that, in terms of, so the food, you do the food, how do we sustain that? So there's all these tools and different ways, and you might find your friends change, your environment changes. So go with it. Friends may come with you, friends may not come with you, and that's the way it is. And then I remember something, I think there was a topic, someone put a question to Gary, what do you do when you're eating around other people who are eating meat and all that? Well, eventually you just as he sort of said, if you go, you make sure everyone is going to be vegan, or you don't go. There's situations you can't be, maybe you can't, situations you might find yourself in them situations that's not the case. However, we do our best. It's not to demonize anyone, but it's just like stand in who we are, so others can get to realize. People might say, well, people die still vegan, vegetarian. Well, more vegetarian they do, yes. Vegan, yes, we all die sometime. My thing is, even if whenever he goes, is being in life, more life day by day, so I live in life, there's a saying, isn't it, better to live a day than a life of misery, so that's what I see where I was before 19 years ago. Once I was all in misery, I had my times, and again, won't knock any of the relationships, beautiful relationships. It's all part of us getting to where we could at the time, and that's looking back, that's as far as we could go together. And then obviously it went the way it did. So and if I was going to knock it all, I would be denying my children, I'd be denying my mum, I'd be denying my relationships, and even the more troublesome ones where kids have been denied, maybe because of certain aspects of the characteristics of certain people. I don't blame. Society is set up a very certain way to keep us on the treadmill and keep us, slave to a system, and, chained to pharmaceutical. It's like big pharma, it's just so if I blame others, I blame myself, so I choose not to do blame. Yeah, I might reiterate certain things and make statements, but if there's energy charged, then I need to look at that, or like we say, if there's an incident in the room now, I act. Oh, you acted like that? Yeah, damn right I acted like that. What is wrong with acting like that? If your child or someone's been threatened, someone isn't getting it after a while, after so many times, and they do the same thing again, and then they, trying to do it on you. So yeah, I stand in my essence, So there's nothing wrong with it. Healthy is that anger. It's actually, to me, that's just energy.
Yeah.
Standing in your power, So we could go on and on and on. So the astrology is amazing. So my journey, 18 years food, 17 years taking it to festivals, meeting so many people, supporting so many people on the way, people working in the cafe. A lot of people having issues with me because holding the cafe space and showing them that they can't, certain things they cannot see in themselves. People who really did know me well, taking them through, like in the middle of the cafe, you know, while people are serving. There we are, locking in. The person's going into deep trauma because he knows me. He knows me. So otherwise, he would get away with projecting an issue that he saw in his dad, but projecting onto me. But he knows me. He was even saying that, but it's Pete, it's Pete, it's Pete. And he came out of it and realized, wow, there was my dad drilling me for. And what I had mentioned, just mentioned, hey, Phil, or whoever it was, John, Harry, whoever. Hey, maybe you need to that. And it's just like, on an energetic level, the whole kitchen went dark. Boom, on an energetic level. You know, like the Dementors came in, you know, on Harry Potter. That's a great analogy. How do they take us? We are in Azkaban. We're in it because we're all in trauma. You know, that's how we're locked here. We talk all these movies, they give it in plain sight, you know. So the best thing we can do is resolve some of them traumas so we're not running the treadmill, becoming self-fulfilling prophecies. So many situations, people who knew me well in the CAF was experiencing going through, regressions in the CAF. So because you know, so many people get away trying to project this, project that, and ganging up. It's like, it was just, I didn't take it personally. It was just like, whoa, I'd be seeing my boys and daughters. I taught them at 4 and 5, all this nonsense adults are doing at 30 and 40 and 50. It's like, whoa, you know? Anyway, as you know, I can go on and go on.
Yeah, no problem, brother. It's been great talking to you. We said an hour. We've gone well over. I know. I'm all for it. But yeah, before we go,
yes,
just remind people again your website and what's on there, and your Instagram and your YouTube. Just like quick roundup.
Yes, so there's Simply Rawgeous Instagram, Simply Rawgeous Facebooks, and Simply Rawgeous YouTube. They're the main, and a website, Simply Rawgeous website.
Yeah,
website needs updating a little bit. You know, having a bit of time out. We're still posting a lot because that's what we're doing. That's what we do. And at the moment, we've got a bundle offer of 6 ebooks. Actually, good time to promote that. 6 ebooks, and the festival one for 17 years, taking the food, the CAF, the festivals, and recipes from that. And there's a bread one. There's a cracker one. And there's a Moroccan one, and there's a few more, and they're half price, the bundle, and half of that money goes to this Sasha farm.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Which is to do with animal rights, and with Gary Urowski. So you know, over the month we're going to be donating anything that comes in this month, 50% to that, you know, to the Sasha farm, at Sasha farm. You know, donate anyway, you know, if you feel a drive, a passion, you know, it's a really good cause. People doing that work, you know, doing certain work need to be praised. We need to praise each other doing work like that. So they are on offer for the month. 6 of them. You can jump in. There's no excuses. Made pretty simple. All these lush ingredients. If you look on the website and the Facebook, you see the gourmet foods. You know, foods that have created very similar, surpass apple pies and crumbles, surpass the normal pizzas, and lasagnas, burgers, falafels, curries. You know, designed them so they're so close to what you normally have, but you don't have the crash. You know, you don't have the up and down. You know, so you know, I think they're beautiful recipes. You know, beautiful start for people to jump on and bring it more into their life. So you know, be aware. I think in one of them it has some protocols with the Jinshin. You know, this before food under the collarbone. So everyone, if you do this in any kind of nervous situation where you're trying to regulate before food, this is like your prebiotic, and probiotic. Apologies. And then before food, you do this 5 minutes, and you reset your nervous system. Yeah, you might not feel it instantly, but eventually, your body knows. Oh, that's it. Right, boom. Let's reset. And then you have your food, and then you're able to digest it more because it helps the digestive system, the stomach. And then after, you've got your high ones, which they call the inside of your thighs. You cross your hands. You don't have to cross. And then after food, so that helps digesting the food. Since I'm not doing so many saunas here and all that, I'm doing so much more Jinshin. Even little Baba does it. We do it before food. And then you really get to assimilate the food. Makes you more present to be able to receive the food. Digest. Not just rushing, gulping it down, because that becomes a reflection of what we're doing in life.
Yeah.
We're running too fast. And judging anyone else who's a bit more slow or a bit more present.
That's so interesting what you just said, brother, about like not rushing it or not being like for example, I've found that like back in the day when I want food or eat food, oh, I really fancy this or I really want that, or like while you're eating it, you're moaning and groaning and doing all this stuff. Like that's another thing that I've slowly worked on as well. Like I don't I try not to approach food in that way. Like even if I am eating normal food, I just try to eat it calmly and do you get what I mean? That's so not to lust for it, basically.
Yeah, being a chef as well. Yeah, this is it. Yeah. It's like if you're really got to eat something, it's like do something. Sit down, 10 minutes, breathe, and then approach it from a different angle. Yeah. So it's not because all the time you're doing that, you're feeding an old paradigm. So you're like, this is another thing people do. They go, I see most of these ways where people are going 1 step forward and 2 steps back.
Yeah.
So you could be doing raw food, but you're like, oh, I'm dying for this, and everything's rushed. And it's like, whoa, I can't eat meals that have been rushed. It's a couple of times I've ate other people's raw food, wondered why I could only get halfway through. The most
energy
beautiful colors
into it goes into the food as well.
Yeah, in the cafe, this is why I say to people before you work in a cafe, do some focus work, meditation, yoga, sauna. Don't bring your rubbish in the kitchen because what goes into the food, this lush ingredients. If you're not present and you're chit-chatting away, it all goes into the food. So, that's the whole alchemy, the whole holistic approach to why the food was so good as well. Not always because, couldn't be tentative all the time watching everything. But in the beginning, I always used to make most of the food over the first so many years, because of knowing that. And it's quite a challenge getting someone into that space, not teaching them, just getting into that space before they're doing the food. You're in a euphoric space. I still have the same love that I had for the food in the first 5 days of doing the raw food. I still have the same passion. So when I make it, I still have that same connection, same passion. So it hasn't changed because on a level, I say I haven't sold out, whatever, but because it's coming from a holistic approach first. It's not because of trying to make money. I met so many people. I tried that, didn't make money. Well, yeah, but I've been funding it. It's never been about the money. And it's not blowing my own trumpet, but I know why I was more assigned to do it. It's not why I did it, even though I may use it. People say, oh, festivals, oh, saunas. They just bring in their either, let's just say, constructed view of festivals getting smashed. It's like you ain't got a clue. Or saunas, they bring in more the perverted thing about saunas. Still ain't got a clue. Because my whole approach, it was just like if you only knew how such a beautiful healing protocol this has been for me. You know, you would not be bringing in, you know, your more contaminated views and thinking. But that's all cool. We just stand and we do our work,
That's
and
it.
people can project.
Hence the saying, actions speak louder than words, you know?
Yeah, if I get caught, and I'm not doing it to be seen. That's the other thing. I'm doing it for myself, because do it for myself, it supports everyone else around
Yeah,
me.
exactly. Because hence the saying, like, because you're doing it for yourself, but the bonus of that is you're becoming a good example
Yeah.
for other people. Do you get what I'm saying? So
you sort out your own inner war, then the wars will just dissipate.
Say that again, brother. Sorry.
We sort out our own inner universe, our own inner war.
Exactly.
The inner, we're like kamikazes, you know, playing Russian roulette. You know that one? Yeah.
Yeah.
With what we put in our mouth and what we do every day. Honestly, when you really look at it, you know, that's what we are, taught kamikazes. We are also like prison guards, prisoning each other. You know, I look back, I'm just reiterating the same stuff to my boys 40 odd years, 30 odd years ago, the best I can. But I look back, it's like, whoa, I'm just doing the best of what I could, you know. But on a level, still imprinting, still good workers to school, to nursery, abandon them. We all have these abandonment issues because we've all went to, majority of us went to school.
Yeah.
There's so many layers deep down. So how we can change that? We can shift that. We can revisit them areas in ourselves rather than projecting out and getting triggered. We can revisit them areas where of abandonment, of not loved by a mum or dad the best, you know, they did their best, but it's not them. It's just they were taught maybe even worse.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we got to not forget, should I say? We just forgive. We don't have to keep sending them love. Just get on with loving yourself. And then there's this ancestral business. We are all there now. We're all one. You know, I did all this ancestral here and all that's just be here now. Work with the now, you know. Getting lost on too many regressions, too many rebirthing, too many ayahuascas, Cambo, this and all, trying to get the remedy when it's under our very noses right now. Just need the right discipline, right tools, right people around you to support them. I'm going to leave it there.
Cool, brother. Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate you taking your time to speak to me.
No,
and
great.
Maybe we can do it again another time on a different subject or whatever. But it's been really cool talking to you. And like I said, thank you, man. And I appreciate it.
You're most welcome. And any support with the food, there's this, let's just drop me some messages. But
thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
But every time before you have a craving, because that's the little seed of changing the pattern. Rather than rushing, just sit for 5 minutes. You just slowly change that pattern.
Yeah.
And then eventually you'll find, I don't do that no more. So, just why am I needed that? So we're just shoving down an emotion that we've not even been aware of what's triggered, whether we've gone into the supermarket. And subconsciously we pick up on all sorts of things. We're it's like we're putting our child into areas that we would not really we're putting our 2-year-old in, but we put ourselves in there. A theory, an analogy I used for a personal analogy I used. It's like, well, look, would you do that to your 2-year-old? No way, I'd never do that. So why are you doing that to yourself? It's like,
that's a weird thing about humans. I've noticed, about things we wouldn't necessarily do to others, but we self-destruct to ourselves as well. I've noticed that,
and you do get others just doing it to others, and which is a real narcissistic. Another deeper level, narcissistic is another deeper level of a deeper trauma. All trauma based. Switching off, disconnect. If you're connected, we would not be doing these atrocities and stuff like that. So. Yeah, I mean, anyway, I better go.
No worries, brother. It's like I said, it's been great talking to you. And who knows? Like, if there's anything, or even if you want to like come on and share something on my platform, you're always welcome to message me. You can...
Yeah, you know, and if people want, you know, if anyone's looking at it, wants me to talk about something more specific, let us know. But yeah, but the food journey, recognizing it's like when people do a ritual and they write something down and burn it. Do you really know what you're doing? You know, on a level, and then certain people have come back, or it's like, oh my God, my whole world's falling apart. And this is like, well, did you know what you're a magical being? Do you know what you did? You asked for that.
Yeah,
but I didn't ask for that. Well, it's clearing, it's cleansing, you know. So we are, by going on the food, going on any protocol, we are advocating, we are doing magic, you know, going on the food, we are inviting change. So that's going to bring up some old stuff. So
yeah,
yes, it's not an easy journey in the beginning. So you are ultimately, by shifting from a heavier flesh, definitely into, you know, more plant-based, vegan, you are saying you want to change. You are saying you want to go in to look at stuff. Stuff's going to come up. And then you've got to be aware, especially in a relationship and your children. They will reflect your field. Your mum, you know, when your mum was having difficulty, you're reflecting stuff in her she wants to keep repressing.
yeah,
So you shifted your field. It's our energy field. So we got to get back to the field. All the mind's just pretty junctified.
yeah,
You know, it's the field. You just shifted your field. It's a vibration. You know, we are also taught. I'm going to throw in a bit here. You know, we're taught to put out the lights of the children. That's how we, you know, because if the children are coming in more pure and we haven't done the work, again, there comes the trigger. So without some knowingly, without even knowing, we bring them, we squash that down to bring them to the level of what we can deal with. We all do that. All do that. I'm not sure why certain people aren't addressing that. Certain, whether, you know, maybe Gabor Mate does, etc., etc. I'm not knocking certain people, but it goes beyond that. You know, we can get stuck. It happened with 3-4 months. It's the feel beyond that. Again, it's us in the beginning, and we can change it, and it's not too late to change that. So it isn't all gloom and doom. We can shift it, but recognize the real root as opposed to reiterating this happened to me 3 months or 3 years, which I used to do. You know, it's just like, but as you go deeper, oh wow, that's amazing. Another door opens, another door opens. I expect many more doors to still keep opening.
Cool. No problem, brother. Like I said, thank you for. I really appreciate you taking your time to talk to me, and yeah, we'll catch up soon, man.
Yeah. And remember this, and the mudras, they all.
Yeah, you know what? I was looking into it yesterday because obviously I've heard you talk about it a lot. Do you know what is weird? I find myself naturally doing stuff like that.
No, we naturally do it. You know, we naturally do it. All these, they're fours.
Yeah, I do a lot. I naturally just like hold my hand on my neck and do this. I don't know if that's doing anything. But
yeah, you got 3 points there, but fours, they say we come in and we go out there.
Yeah,
which is really interesting, you know. And you know, and again, I'm going to throw in. They say 7 lineages on your mum's side, 7 lineages on your dad's side, but you know, some people have said 10. So we come in with all that, you know, unresolved karma, unresolved stuff. You know, the karma is made. You know, it's just cause and effect. That happens. We're affected by it. So that's in our field when we're born. So, you know, we had that to, and you could say chose it, whether we chose it or not. You know, we could be just hoodwinked, you know. Whatever we are, we're here. Recognize what a potential connection you have had. How do we get back there? How do we sustain that? And then, yeah, of course, you got to let go of a lot of the old you know, and people want to keep pulling you back to the old identity of you, because, you know, do all what they can to try and trigger you to justify it. See, you're the same, you know. It's just like, it's amazing. It's like, well, yeah, well, If you want to keep thinking I'm the same, whatever, you know, I see all these things happening. And yeah, we do keep some of our certain traits. Some of them can serve us well and be very healthy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely going now. So, and it's really been nice. Thanks for having me on.
It's all good, man.
Yes, love, and